Welcome to World Information HD, where we unearth the most jaw-dropping stories from around the globe. Today, we're diving into the world of rare coins. Get ready as we count down the top 10 most valuable and rare U.S. Lincoln pennies, some of which have sold for millions. From wartime minting errors to elusive design anomalies, these pennies aren't just spare change, they're potentially life-changing treasures. Let's explore which pennies could catapult you into millionaire status. In the vast and fascinating world of coin collecting, certain pieces stand out not just because of their age, but because of the mystery, history, and rarity that surround them. Today, we dive deep into a coin that might be sitting unnoticed in an old jar, a forgotten drawer, or perhaps even jingling in your pocket without you realizing its true value. It's a small piece of American history, the 1976 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now, before we uncover why this particular penny is so special, let's take a step back in time to understand the backdrop of its creation. The year 1976 was monumental for the United States. It was the nation's bicentennial year, 200 years since the Declaration of Independence was signed. Across the country, there was a wave of patriotism, celebrations, parades, and commemorations. The U.S. Mint joined in the festivities, producing special designs for the quarter, half-dollar, and dollar coins to mark the occasion. However, the humble 1-cent piece, the Lincoln penny, retained its familiar design, unchanged, with Abraham Lincoln's iconic profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. At first glance, a 1976 penny doesn't appear particularly unusual. Billions were minted that year, with production split between the Philadelphia and Denver mints. Philadelphia produced pennies carried no mint mark, as was the tradition before 1980. Denver coins bore the tiny D beneath the date. But somewhere in that massive mintage lies a select group of coins that are far from ordinary. These are the pennies collectors hunt for relentlessly, the ones with specific traits, errors, or conditions that set them apart from the sea of ordinary cents. The no mint mark feature for a Philadelphia coin in 1976 was normal, but what makes certain examples valuable is not just their lack of mint mark, it's a combination of factors: pristine condition, rare minting errors, unusual die varieties, and incredibly high grades awarded by professional grading services. One of the first things collectors look for is the coin's strike quality. In 1976, the U.S. Mint was operating at high capacity to meet the public's demand for coins, especially with the bicentennial designs drawing so much attention. As a result, some dies were overused, leading to weaker strikes. A strong, sharp strike from that year, particularly on a no-mint mark cent, is already less common. The Lincoln portrait should show clear details in the hair and beard, and the lines of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse should be distinct and well-defined. Another factor is the coin's surface condition. Most pennies enter circulation immediately, enduring years of handling, scratches, and environmental damage. Finding a 1976 penny in absolutely uncirculated, brilliant red condition is rare, especially after nearly half a century. Coins graded at the highest levels, like MS-67 or MS-68 read by PCGS or NGC, are incredibly scarce. Even a single tick mark, a minor blemish, or slight dulling of the luster can drop the grade dramatically and with it, the coin's value. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of certain 1976 no-mint mark pennies lies in their errors. The minting process is precise but not infallible, and sometimes mistakes happen, mistakes that become treasures for collectors. Doubled dies are one example. On a doubled die obverse, you might see extra outlines on the date, the letters of Liberty, or In God We Trust. These doubling effects are created during the hubbing process when the die receives more than one misaligned impression. Each doubled die variety is unique, and some are much rarer than others. There are also off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the coin blank wasn't correctly aligned in the press. Broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and even coins struck on the wrong planchet can turn an ordinary cent into a highly prized collectible. The rarer and more dramatic the error, the higher the potential value. But rarity alone isn't enough. Demand plays an equal role. In the case of the 1976 penny, There's an added layer of desirability because of its connection to the bicentennial year. Even though the design didn't change, the historical significance of 1976 increases its collectability. Many Americans have a sentimental attachment to bicentennial era coins, making them more willing to pay a premium for top-quality examples. Professional grading is another crucial part of the equation. A raw coin, even in seemingly perfect condition, will never command the same price as one certified by a reputable grading service. When a coin is encapsulated in a tamper-proof holder with its grade clearly stated, buyers have confidence in what they're purchasing. High-grade 1976 no-mint mark cents are few and far between, so when one appears at auction, competition among collectors can be fierce. Over the years, certain auction results have stunned even seasoned numismatists. A penny that cost just 1 cent to produce has fetched amounts that could buy a car, pay for college tuition, or even make a down payment on a home. Why? Because in the numismatic world, perfection is a luxury, and when combined with historical context and rarity, the price can skyrocket. Let's paint a picture. Imagine someone finding an old jar of coins in their grandparents' attic. They pour them out on the kitchen table, sifting through decades of change. Among the faded nickels and tarnished quarters, a bright copper-red penny catches the light. Under closer inspection, they notice the date, 1976, and no mint mark beneath it. Thinking little of it, they toss it in with the others. But what if, instead, they had looked closer under a magnifying glass? What if they had seen sharp details, flawless surfaces, or a curious doubling on the letters? That single penny could be worth thousands. This is what keeps treasure hunters and coin collectors going, the thrill of discovery. Every coin in circulation is a tiny piece of history, and sometimes, history hides treasures in plain sight. The 1976 no-mint mark Lincoln cent might look like an ordinary penny to most people, but in the right condition, it becomes a prized possession. Collectors don't just see copper and zinc. They see stories of the U.S. Mint's production quirks, the artistry of engraving, the endurance of a coin through decades of economic change, and the possibility that something so small can hold so much value. The best advice for anyone who thinks they might have a valuable 1976 penny is simple: don't spend it. Store it carefully, avoid cleaning it, as that can drastically reduce its value, and consider having it evaluated by a professional. Even coins with minor wear can be worth more than face value if they have certain varieties or errors. For those actively searching, keep your eyes open for vibrant red luster, sharp strikes, and any signs of doubling. Weigh the coin if you can. Unusual weights can indicate wrong planchet errors. And always remember that rarity and condition are the twin pillars of coin value. The beauty of coin collecting is that treasures aren't always locked away in museums or private vaults. They can be hiding in everyday places, tucked in old coin purses, slipped between couch cushions, or resting quietly in the pocket change from a coffee shop. The next time you receive change, take a moment to look at each coin. History, art, and maybe even a small fortune could be sitting right in your hand. And now we come to the part you've been waiting for, the jaw-dropping value that one of these elusive 1976 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent pennies has reached at auction. In pristine, uncirculated condition, graded at the highest levels, one remarkable example sold for an astounding $19,328. In the vast history of American coinage, some coins stand out not just because of the metal they are made from, but because of the stories they carry and the secrets they hide. Today, we turn our attention to a coin that, on the surface, may look like just another common penny you might find in your pocket change, but in reality, it could be worth far more than you ever imagined. We're talking about the United States 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a fascinating coin with a history that connects the past, present, and the very fabric of American numismatics. Picture this: the year is 1977. Jimmy Carter has just taken office as the 39th President of the United States. Star Wars has taken movie theaters by storm, changing cinema forever. Elvis Presley performs his final concerts. And in pockets, purses, and cash registers across the country, copper Lincoln pennies quietly change hands without anyone realizing that a few among them will one day become highly sought-after treasures. Among these everyday coins are the 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln cents, minted in such a way that their true value would not be recognized for decades. The Lincoln cent itself is already steeped in history. First introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person instead of a symbolic figure like Lady Liberty. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse proudly displays Lincoln's profile, while the reverse, at least in the era of the 1977 penny, features the Lincoln Memorial, a design by Frank Casparo that debuted in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By the time 1977 rolled around, the Lincoln Memorial reverse had already been in circulation for nearly 2 decades, and people were accustomed to seeing these pennies everywhere. Most of them were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally did not include a mint mark on its coins. This is why the 1977 penny from Philadelphia has no mint mark. At first glance, this seems perfectly ordinary. After all, millions upon millions of these coins were produced, so why would any single one be special? The answer lies in the details. While the majority of 1977 pennies are indeed common and worth only their face value, there are certain examples whose condition, rarity and pristine state, and small minting variances make them incredibly desirable to collectors. You see, numismatics is not just about age or mintage numbers, it's about the survival of coins in extraordinary condition, untouched by the wear and tear of circulation. A regular 1977 penny that has been rattling around in change for years will never command a high price. But a coin that has been preserved in stunning, near-perfect condition can fetch an amount that makes you think twice about what a penny is truly worth. Let's step into the mind of a collector for a moment. Imagine you're searching through rolls of pennies from the bank, eyes sharp for that elusive glint of perfection. You're looking for a coin with razor-sharp details, untouched luster, and flawless surfaces. This level of preservation is graded by experts using a scale known as the Sheldon Coin Grading Scale, which runs from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS-60 or higher is considered mint state, meaning it has never been in circulation and retains its original brilliance. The ultimate prize, of course, is an MS-70, a perfect coin. But even MS-66 or MS-67 grades can command astonishing prices when it comes to certain years and mint combinations. Now, the 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln cent becomes truly special when found in these high grades. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of these pennies, but very few survived in immaculate condition. Most went straight into circulation, where they were tossed into jars, clinked around in pockets, and slid across countless countertops. The rare few that avoided this fate, coins that might have been set aside in uncirculated rolls or forgotten in coin collections, have now become coveted treasures. One fascinating aspect of the 1977 penny is the change in the metal composition that was looming on the horizon. Just 5 years later, in 1982, the U.S. Mint would switch from the traditional 95% copper composition to a predominantly zinc core with a thin copper plating due to the rising cost of copper. That means the 1977 penny is one of the last generations of full copper Lincoln cents, a detail that adds to its appeal among collectors. Each of these older copper pennies actually contains about 2 cents worth of copper at today's metal prices, which is why many people hoard them. But condition isn't the only thing that can make a 1977 penny valuable. There are also minting errors, those happy accidents that occur during the coin production process, turning an ordinary penny into a one-of-a-kind rarity. Double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, and other anomalies can dramatically increase a coin's worth. For example, a 1977 penny with a strong double die on the obverse could be worth far more than its face value, even if it's circulated. Collectors love error coins because no two are exactly alike, making them like miniature works of art with a story all their own. If you're wondering how to identify a high-value 1977 penny, the first step is to look at its overall appearance. Does it have a rich, red copper color with no signs of wear? Are the details on Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat crisp and fully struck? Is the lettering on the coin sharp and distinct? If so, you might have something special. Next, Check for any unusual markings or misalignments. And finally, if you believe you have a coin in exceptional condition, it's worth sending it to a professional grading service such as PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, to have it authenticated and graded. The excitement of finding a rare coin in your change is something that never gets old. Stories abound of people discovering valuable coins in the most unexpected places, in inherited collections, at garage sales, or even stuck between couch cushions. The 1977 no-mint mark penny might not scream treasure at first glance, but for the trained eye, it holds the potential to surprise. And when it does, the reward can be substantial. Let's take a moment to reflect on what makes coins like this so appealing to collectors and treasure hunters alike. It's not just about the money, although that's certainly a big part of it. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the satisfaction of learning the history behind each coin, and the sense of connection to the past. Every coin is a tiny artifact that has traveled through time, carrying with it the echoes of the era in which it was made. Holding a 1977 penny is like holding a piece of American history, a reminder of the year's cultural milestones, economic conditions, and artistic traditions. Another thing that adds to the allure of the 1977 penny is its accessibility. You don't need to be a millionaire to start looking for one. You don't need special equipment, expensive memberships, or insider connections. All you need is curiosity, patience, and a willingness to look closely at the change you encounter every day. That's the beauty of coin collecting. Treasures can be found in the most ordinary of places, and as you dive deeper into the world of pennies, you'll quickly realize that the Lincoln Cent series is full of hidden gems. From the famous 1909 SVDB to the 1943 steel cents and the 1955 double die, there are countless varieties and rarities to discover. The 1977 no-mint mark penny is part of that tapestry, a reminder that even in a modern age, history and value can be hiding in plain sight. So, the next time you're handed a penny in change, take a moment to look at it. Check the date, examine the details, and see if you might be holding something extraordinary. Who knows? That humble coin might be worth more than you think, perhaps even enough to make your day, or your year. After all, among the millions of 1977 no-mint mark pennies that passed through countless hands, a small number remain in pristine, near-perfect condition. These are the coins that collectors dream of, the ones that command eye-popping prices when they appear at auction. And when that hammer falls in the auction room, the winning bid can be truly astounding. One such example. A single 1977 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, preserved in remarkable condition and authenticated by experts, sold for an incredible amount, a jaw-dropping total of $22,109. In the vast history of American coinage, there are certain treasures that slip quietly into circulation, blending in with millions of their ordinary counterparts, yet carrying secrets worth more than gold. One such hidden marvel lies in the palm of your hand, small and copper-colored, carrying the face of one of America's most iconic presidents. At first glance, it looks like any other penny you've ever seen in your change jar, but a trained eye knows better. Today, we dive deep into the fascinating story of the 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that has transformed pocket change into a collector's dream. Picture this, it's 1978, the United States is celebrating its bicentennial spirit. Just 2 years prior, disco music is pulsing in clubs, and Jimmy Carter is in the White House. Millions of pennies roll off the presses at the United States Mint, destined for everyday use, buying candy bars, paying for bus rides, jingling in pockets, and slipping into cash registers across the nation. Yet among this sea of identical coins, some carry subtle details, barely noticeable to the untrained eye, that could mean the difference between 1 cent and a small fortune. The first thing to understand about the 1978 Lincoln penny is its place in the long-running Lincoln Cent series. This design, introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth, was revolutionary for its time. Victor David Brenner, the designer, gave the coin an iconic profile of Lincoln on the obverse and wheat stalks on the reverse for the first 50 years. By 1959, to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday, The reverse design was changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial, an image that remained until the turn of the millennium. The 1978 penny falls right in that memorial design era, but there's more to it than just its place in the timeline. In that year, the composition of the penny was still primarily bronze, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it that warm, rich hue collectors adore. The metallic content alone makes older pennies like these inherently more appealing to numismatists, especially when compared to the post-1982 zinc versions that corrode and wear much faster. Now here's where things get intriguing: the no mint mark detail. Many coins bear tiny letters beneath the date, a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or a P for Philadelphia. But the 1978 penny struck in Philadelphia, as was customary for that mint at the time, did not carry a mint mark at all. That's right, if you look under the date and see nothing, you're looking at a Philadelphia strike. To a casual collector, this might seem unremarkable, but in the world of coin enthusiasts, the absence of a mint mark can spark curiosity. While most no mint mark coins from Philadelphia are common, certain years, conditions, and die varieties can turn them into prized finds. Philadelphia's coins often had massive mintage numbers. In 1978, over 5.5 billion Lincoln cents rolled out of that facility. That sheer volume means most of them are worth only their face value unless they're in exceptional condition. But exceptional here means something very specific: pristine, untouched, and often certified by professional grading services. High-grade coins with sharp details, no scratches, and blazing original luster can command staggering sums at auctions. This is where the magic happens. Imagine stumbling upon a coin in a forgotten jar at the back of your closet. You pick it up, and it looks almost as if it had just left the mint. The fields are glossy, the devices are razor sharp, and Lincoln's portrait carries every line and detail of Brenner's artistry. There's no mint mark beneath the date, and it gleams under the light. You might be holding something far beyond a penny's worth. Another factor that plays into value is striking errors. While the 1978 no mint mark penny does not have a famously recognized error like the 1955 doubled die or the 1972 doubled die, there are minor variations that collectors hunt for, including die cracks, off-center strikes, and misaligned dies. Each of these quirks tells a story about what happened during the minting process: the intense pressure, the mechanical mishaps, and the human oversight that sometimes allows mistakes to slip through. Error coins can turn even an ordinary mintage year into a collectible sensation. But the real crown jewel is condition, or what numismatists call grade. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect, flawless example. In the case of the 1978 penny, anything above MS 65, mint state 65, starts to become truly desirable. At that level, the coin's surfaces are virtually free of contact marks, its luster is vibrant, and the strike is crisp. Achieving such perfection is rare, given how pennies are handled. They're dumped into bags, transported, and released into circulation, all of which can leave them with tiny dings and scratches. So why does this year's no mint mark coin in top condition hold such fascination? It's partly because of its position near the end of the Bronze Era, partly because the 1970s are a nostalgia-rich period for collectors today, and partly because finding a flawless example after decades of circulation is like finding a needle in a haystack. Many have been worn down through decades of transactions, their details smoothed and their luster dulled. Let's talk about the thrill of the hunt. Coin collectors often describe the search for rare varieties as a mix of patience, knowledge, and luck. You might sift through rolls of pennies from the bank, searching for that perfect 1978 no mint mark example. Hours of searching might yield nothing but common, worn coins, until suddenly, one gleams differently, stands out from the rest, and you realize you've found something special. This is the moment that fuels the passion of numismatists. The journey from pocket change to prized possession often involves professional evaluation. A collector finding a pristine 1978 penny will often send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. Once encapsulated in a protective slab and given an official grade, its market value becomes clearer. These services ensure buyers and sellers alike that the coin's quality is authenticated, removing uncertainty from the equation. The story doesn't end there. Once graded, such coins often make their way to high-profile auctions, where competitive bidding drives prices higher and higher. Imagine a collector who has been searching for years for a flawless 1978 penny to complete a set. When that coin appears on the auction block, they're willing to pay a premium to secure it. And that's how an ordinary 1-cent piece transforms into a small fortune. Of course, not every 1978 no-mint mark penny will command jaw-dropping prices. The vast majority are still worth a cent or perhaps a few dollars in circulated condition. But for that small percentage that has been preserved in pristine state for over 4 decades, the market's appetite can be fierce. These coins are more than just currency. They're artifacts of a time in America's history, each carrying the weight of decades and the stories of countless hands they might have passed through. One of the most fascinating aspects of coin collecting is how something so common can become so rare. The 1978 penny was struck in the billions, yet the passage of time, circulation wear, and human indifference have left only a tiny fraction in the top condition demanded by serious collectors. This scarcity is what drives value, not the mintage number itself, but the survival rate of coins in that pristine state. It's a reminder that the true worth of a coin isn't always obvious. You could have one in your home right now without realizing its potential. All it takes is a moment of curiosity, a closer look under the right lighting, and perhaps a magnifying glass to unlock a hidden treasure. That's the magic of numismatics. The stories, the history, and the thrill of discovering something extraordinary where you least expect it. So next time you handle a penny, don't be too quick to dismiss it. Check the date, look for the absence of a mint mark, examine the sharpness of Lincoln's profile, and pay attention to the coin's shine and detail. You never know when a humble 1-cent piece could be worth far more than it seems. And for those wondering about the pinnacle of this coin's potential, there have been rare occasions where a flawless, high-grade 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny has crossed the auction block for an astonishing sum, as much as $41,278. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that has traveled through decades, quietly passing from palm to palm, never revealing its true worth to the world. A coin so small in size, yet containing a story of history, rarity, and hidden treasure value. Today, we're diving deep into one such fascinating piece of American coinage, the 1980 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. But this is not just any ordinary copper-plated piece you might find in your change jar. This penny has secrets, unique characteristics, and in rare cases, a jaw-dropping value that would shock even the most seasoned collectors. To understand why this coin has captivated so many collectors, let's first set the stage. The year is 1980, a time of rapid change in the United States. The economy was shifting, technology was evolving, and the coinage of the nation was in its own quiet transformation. The Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to honor the centennial birth of Abraham Lincoln, had already been in circulation for over 7 decades. By 1980, the iconic design created by Victor David Brenner was still being struck, with Lincoln's familiar profile on the obverse and the Grand Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Now, the D mint mark on this penny tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the primary coin-producing facilities in the U.S. known for its high output. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins in 1980. So why, you might ask, would a coin that was minted in such large numbers be worth anything more than a cent? That's where the story gets interesting. The truth is, not all coins are created equal. While millions roll off the mint presses every year, only a handful escape with special qualities that make them highly valuable to collectors. In the case of the 1980 Lincoln cent, certain factors can dramatically influence its worth, from minting errors and condition to historical significance and collector demand. One of the most crucial aspects that determines the value of any coin is its grade. This is where the world of numismatics, the study and collection of coins, gets highly meticulous. Every scratch, every mark, every tiny imperfection on the surface of a penny can change its grade and, therefore, its price. Coins that have been handled, spent, and worn down over decades may only be worth face value. But those that somehow survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, with sharp details, glossy luster, and no signs of wear, are the ones that can fetch serious money. For the 1980 penny, collectors particularly look for examples graded at the highest levels by professional grading services such as PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. Coins graded MS, meaning mint state, followed by a number from 60 to 70, indicate coins that have never been in circulation. The closer to MS 70, the more flawless the coin, and the more desirable it becomes. But beyond condition, the 1980 penny is also notable for certain striking errors. Coin errors are like accidental masterpieces, rare flaws that occur during the minting process, turning an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. For instance, some 1980 pennies are known to have off-center strikes, where the design is shifted noticeably from the center. Others have double die errors, where elements of the design appear doubled due to misalignment during the die creation process. Still others show variations in planchet quality, where the metal blank used to strike the coin wasn't perfect. Such quirks can easily multiply the value of a penny several times over. Now let's talk about the historical backdrop that makes even a regular 1980 penny intriguing. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, the price of copper was steadily rising. The Lincoln cents of 1980 were still made primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving them a heavier feel than today's cents, which are primarily zinc with a thin copper coating. This composition change happened in 1982, meaning the 1980 penny was one of the last years to feature the classic copper content. For collectors who appreciate metal composition as part of a coin's legacy, this alone adds a certain nostalgic and tangible value. Let's not forget the design details that make the Lincoln cent one of the most beloved coins in American history. On the obverse, Lincoln's thoughtful profile faces right, with the word Liberty to the left and the date, 1980, alongside the D mint mark just below. Above him, the familiar national motto, "In God We Trust," is prominently displayed. On the reverse, the stately Lincoln Memorial is rendered with remarkable precision, down to the tiny depiction of the statue of Lincoln seated inside. Around the top arch, "United States of America" is engraved, while "E Pluribus Unum" rests above the memorial, and the denomination, 1 cent, is spelled out along the bottom. For many, these small design details hold as much sentimental value as they do monetary worth. Over the years, coin dealers and enthusiasts have scoured rolls of pennies, hoping to stumble upon a 1980 in exceptional condition. While many can still be found in circulation, finding one in near-perfect mint state is like striking gold. The allure lies in knowing that what appears to be just a humble penny in your hand could actually be worth far more than anyone would expect, if the right conditions are met. The Denver Mint, known for its precision, still had its share of production variations in 1980. For example, there are 1980 pennies that display small differences in the sharpness of the lettering or the spacing of the date. While these minor varieties may not be immediately noticeable to the casual observer, they are like hidden clues to trained collectors. Specialists will study the thickness of the numbers in the date, the clarity of the mint mark, and even the crispness of Lincoln's bow tie to determine whether a coin might have been struck from a fresh die or one that was already wearing down. Another fascinating aspect for collectors is the toning of the coin. Toning refers to the natural change in a coin's surface color over time due to chemical reactions between the metal and its environment. A 1980 penny that has developed attractive rainbow-like hues or deep, rich patinas can be highly sought after, provided the toning is natural and not artificially induced. These naturally toned coins tell a story of their journey through time, and each is unique, almost like a fingerprint. Collectors also love to piece together full date and mint mark sets of Lincoln cents, spanning from 1909 all the way through modern issues. In such collections, a high-grade 1980 fills an important slot, especially for those who are building a complete, red, uncirculated set, where each coin retains its original coppery brilliance. Of course, no discussion about valuable coins would be complete without touching on the role of demand in the market. Coin collecting is a dynamic hobby. Trends shift, certain dates gain popularity, and prices can rise or fall accordingly. Right now, There is a growing interest in coins from the late 1970s and early 1980s, in part because this era represents the end of the high copper content era for the Lincoln cent. As more people become aware of the value hidden in seemingly ordinary coins, competition for top-grade examples of these dates has intensified. So, what does this all mean for you, the person listening right now? It means that the next time you come across a penny, especially one with a D under the date from 1980, you might want to take a closer look. Examine its surfaces under good lighting. Check for any unusual doubling, off-center strikes, or crispness in detail. If it looks flawless, consider having it professionally graded. That small step could be the difference between pocket change and a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And speaking of worth, here comes the part you've been waiting for: the actual value of one of these elusive coins in the most pristine condition imaginable. We're talking about a 1980 Lincoln penny graded at the absolute top, with immaculate luster, flawless strike, and no signs of wear or damage. Such a coin has been known to sell for an amount that would make most people's jaws drop. In a high-profile sale, one of these remarkable pennies reached a staggering value of $31,883. In the vast and fascinating world of coin collecting, there are stories that captivate the imagination and inspire treasure hunters across the globe. From silver dollars that have survived shipwrecks to gold coins hidden away in forgotten chests, numismatics has always been a realm of discovery, mystery, and potential fortune. But sometimes, the most remarkable treasures don't shine with gold or silver. Sometimes, they are found in the most ordinary of places, in your pocket change, in the jar on your kitchen counter, or in an old wallet passed down from a relative. And one of those modern treasures is the United States of America 1988 Lincoln 1-cent penny. When people think of rare coins, their minds often leap to the 1800s, to Civil War-era currency, or to coins from the founding days of the nation. The idea that a simple penny from the late 1980s could hold any real value might sound surprising at first. But in the intricate and detail-driven world of coin collecting, it's the small differences, the subtle errors, and the rare production quirks that can transform a coin from being worth just 1 cent into something worth thousands. To understand why the 1988 Lincoln cent has caught the attention of collectors and investors alike, it's important to appreciate the broader story of the Lincoln penny. First minted in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, this coin replaced the Indian head cent that had been in circulation since 1859. The new penny, designed by Victor David Brenner, featured Lincoln's profile on the obverse and 2 stalks of wheat on the reverse, an iconic design that became instantly recognizable across America. The Lincoln penny would undergo a major redesign in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth and the 50th anniversary of the coin itself. The wheat ears on the reverse were replaced with the image of the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. This design, which ran from 1959 to 2008, would become one of the most familiar coins in modern American history. And within this long span, certain years and mint marks would produce varieties so rare and unique that they would become legends in their own right. The 1988 D penny is one such example. Produced at the Denver Mint, the D mint mark signifies its place of origin. Denver is known for high-quality coin production, but even here, unusual varieties and errors can occur, often unnoticed until years later when sharp-eyed collectors discover something out of the ordinary. These rare anomalies are what transform an everyday coin into a numismatic gem. One of the primary reasons certain 1988 D pennies are so valuable lies in a fascinating detail involving the coin's design dies. In the late 1980s, the U.S. Mint was preparing to update the obverse design of the penny. Starting in 1989, a new design featured slight changes to Lincoln's bust, most notably in the style of the letters in the word, Liberty, and the appearance of the mint mark and date. However, in 1988, a small number of coins, both from Philadelphia and Denver, were struck using the 1989 obverse die by mistake. This created what collectors refer to as a transitional variety. Essentially, these 1988 pennies were struck with the design intended for the following year, making them distinct from the regular 1988 issues. To the casual observer, this difference is almost invisible. But under magnification, the trained eye can spot the subtle features that set it apart. On the 1988 transitional variety, the designer's initials, FG, for Frank Gasparo, on the reverse have a slightly different style, matching the 1989 reverse rather than the 1988 version. The spacing and style of certain lettering on the obverse also differ just enough to make identification possible. Because these transitional varieties were never meant to be released, they were produced in extremely small numbers, likely just a fraction of the total mintage. Considering that over 5.2 billion Lincoln cents were produced at the Denver Mint in 1988, the odds of finding one of these rare transitional varieties in circulation are staggeringly small. This is precisely what makes them so desirable to collectors. In a sea of billions, a tiny handful hold this unique trait, elevating them from ordinary to extraordinary. The thrill of finding such a coin is part of what keeps collectors searching. Imagine dumping out a jar of pennies, expecting to see nothing but common coins, and suddenly spotting one with a detail that stands out under your magnifying glass. For a dedicated numismatist, this moment is pure gold, figuratively speaking, of course. The rarity, combined with the historical intrigue of a minting error, creates a story worth telling and a coin worth cherishing. Collectors also prize coins in exceptional condition. While a circulated 1988 transitional variety can still fetch impressive prices, the highest values are reserved for coins in near pristine condition, graded, mint state, by professional grading services. The grading process evaluates the coin's luster, strike quality, and the presence, or absence, of scratches, wear, and other marks. A high-grade example of the 1988 transitional variety can command serious attention at auction, especially when verified by a trusted third-party grading company like PCGS or NGC. The marketplace for such coins has grown dramatically in recent years, thanks to the Internet. Online auction platforms, coin forums, and social media groups have made it easier than ever for collectors to share information, post photographs of their finds, and connect with buyers around the world. This has increased awareness of rare varieties like the 1988 transitional penny, driving up demand and, in turn, prices. Stories of ordinary people discovering valuable coins in pocket change or old piggy banks have fueled a modern-day treasure hunt, inspiring countless individuals to take a closer look at their own spare change. For those hoping to find a valuable 1988 penny, knowing what to look for is essential. The first step is to identify the mint mark, located just below the date on the obverse. If you see a D, you know it's from the Denver Mint. Then closely examine the details of the design. Compare the FG initials on the reverse to reference images of both 1988 and 1989 pennies. On the transitional variety, the initials are slightly more compact and positioned differently. The lettering style and spacing on the obverse also hold clues. A good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe is an invaluable tool for this kind of inspection. It's also worth noting that other varieties and errors from 1988 can hold value, including double dies, off-center strikes, and coins with unusual plating issues. While these are different from the transitional variety, they can still be collectible and worth more than face value, especially in uncirculated condition. This is why every coin deserves a second look, no matter how ordinary it appears at first glance. The fascination with coins like the 1988 penny also stems from their place in a larger narrative about U.S. mint history. The transition between designs, the challenges of maintaining strict quality control, and the occasional slip-ups that lead to rare varieties all contribute to a living history that collectors get to explore and preserve. Each rare coin is a physical piece of that history, tangible proof of a moment when something unexpected slipped past the watchful eyes of the mint and into the hands of the public. In the end, the story of the 1988 Lincoln cent is about more than just its monetary value. It's about the thrill of discovery, the joy of learning, and the connection to history that comes from holding a rare piece of American coinage. For some, it's the beginning of a lifelong passion for numismatics. For others, it's a once-in-a-lifetime find that turns an ordinary day into an unforgettable one. And for that lucky collector who finds one in exceptional condition, the reward can be astonishing. In fact, A pristine example of the rare 1988 Lincoln 1-cent penny has been known to sell for as much as $23,400.